new episode, and we're back again. Zac's not with us. We're going to touch on, what episode is this? You just said it.
Episode 8.
Episode 8. We're going to talk about mental toughness. We're just going to dive a little bit into it, not get crazy with it. But our question is, when someone says mental toughness in the weight room, what does that mean for you guys? What do you think of when someone says that in the weight room? I know what I think of. He knows what he thinks of. What do you guys think of? So let's talk a little bit about mental toughness. I got this program. I give it to you. You say, I can't do it. You fail rep 7 and 8, and then you can't execute the program. And I'm like, you are a weenie. You are not mentally tough. We should just put you out to pasture. You can't make it. You're weak.
I am not worthy of attention or any of that.
Not at all. You work out by yourself in the corner for the rest of your time at the gym.
Absolutely.
Okay, now, what does it mean to you?
Mental toughness to me? I mean, I think of like a person who jumps out of a plane and like they parachute into this like remote jungle and they're executing some sort of mission, or I think of a fighter in the octagon and they're like taking punches to their face and they're getting tackled and all this stuff, but they're able to continue in spite of all this adversity. Or in the weight room, I think of a person who's like training in their quad is on the verge of tearing, but they're still going to continue and complete their squat program in spite of that happening.
That's me, yeah.
Just
ride it out.
Yeah, and
I'm totally kidding.
and there are certain times and places for that to be appropriate in the weight room, and there are times and places where it's like we should not be doing that. And in today's episode, we want to delve a little further into what is mental toughness and unpacking what that means and making it or reframing it from in a more productive perspective.
Productive and positive perspective. Instead of just saying someone's not mentally tough, shoot them down, they're not going to make it as a lifter, their career's over here right now. So, what we talked about a little bit earlier at the front desk is like, I say that and Edward says something a little bit different. How about we say, instead of they're mentally weak, they just can't do the workout because, they can't tell themselves to do it, they don't have the right music on, what is the reasoning, maybe?
So we can ground this in an example we used in the previous episode. Say you have a new athlete and they come in and you give them 3 sets of 10 at 60%, but this athlete hasn't really trained high rep before. All they've done was say 3 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 5, and that is what they've considered volume. And then all of a sudden they have sets of 10 on the program, and they do one set and they are winded and they're on the verge of puking and they're just panting on the floor. And to them, this is like the first set was an RPE 10, and you're expecting them to do 2 more sets of that. And they're like, Coach, I can't do this. I quit. I hate this. And it's like we're thinking, this person's so soft. They can't do sets of 10. I'm asking them to do sets of 10 at 60%. Any athlete who trains with a barbell should be able to do sets of 10 at 60%. This person's mentally weak, and it's like, if they keep doing it, and they're gonna their bodies break, whatever. They're expendable. I have way more athletes to choose from than this weakling, so I'm gonna choose like the toughest athlete and have them like be my champion. I don't want this weakling. Instead of, like we talked about in the last episode, instead of taking them and giving them sets of 10 from week 1, like week 1 we give them sets of 6 at 60%, then week 2 sets of 8 at 60%, and week 3 now they're at sets of 10 at 60%. And because we've ramped them up from what they were used to before, say sets of 3 to 5, and then worked them up from where they were to sets of 10 because we want them to do sets of 10 to train volume, for example, that all of a sudden makes they're doing sets of 10 that much easier, that much more manageable. And it's not because they weren't looking at these motivational memes on social media or like listening to the right motivational speech on YouTube because like that's how they build their mental toughness. No, it was because we made them prepared for what we were giving them to do. And if we could think of mental toughness as the athlete's preparedness or preparation for the task, then we can think of athletes as either prepared or unprepared for the task versus mentally strong and mentally weak. And if we can frame the athlete's preparation or like their approach or like the matching of them to their training as like prepared and unprepared, that makes our jobs as coaches easier. So if we can think of the athlete as this athlete is unprepared for sets of 10 at 60%, I'm not going to give them sets of 10 to 60%. I'm going to give them sets of whatever at 60% that they can manage, and then work them up to sets of 10 to 60%.
And I would say a big part of that is the coach being involved in the athlete too. Not just like, here's a program, not just like, I'm gonna give them 6 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 10 and they're gonna crumble and then they're gonna know that like my training programs are really hard because I'm the best. It's not that. It's matching your programming to the individual athlete that you have at that time.
And that's the unfortunate reality of online coaching and online programs and free programs being available, like that being what beginners are used to and like have right in front of their face, that they like, that is what they know, that here's a program that costs $1 or it's even free online and it's just like some arbitrary sets and reps, and they think that they can execute that, versus like there are coaches out there who can have a conversation with you and get to know like who you are, where you're at in terms of your training, what kind of training you're used to, and like they can bring you from where you're at to the like a higher standard of training that can get you to your goals faster. And knowing that that is a thing that exists nowadays to counter just cookie cutter programs, that is what we at Chalk It Up are trying to champion, I guess you could say.
Yeah, to like spread and let more people in on that. Like, you can spend the $10 and buy the random program online, but is that personalized to you? Is it going to fit you? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Maybe just a little bit of structure is all you need. But a big part of that is just, you know, the athlete and coach relationship of like taking, you know, accountability that you're helping X, you know, this certain athlete right here, and this is what they're good at right now, and then getting them to the next level. So, you know, that toughness, or that making of a program and like taking the time for every individual athlete, that's a big part in, you know, quote unquote coaching.
And even in Juggernaut's book and Renaissance Periodization's book, Scientific Principles of Strength Training, you have overload as this overarching principle, and specificity and fatigue management as these really important principles. And at the very bottom of all those priorities or principles is individual differences, which makes up like 5% of the entire thing. And it's like, as long as we can get the other principles in place, specificity, overload, fatigue management, then the program's going to run pretty well. But if you've trained for any period of time and like you've worked with any coach, then you know like how important it is to have like the right exercise at the right time, or to have the right cue at the right time. And even though it's like I can look at this article on top 10 cues to make your squat feel better, it's like having the coach's expertise and knowing the exact cue that will work for the athlete at that time. And that is what you get in getting a coach. So it's like you don't have to read through all this crap online and filter it for yourself, because you don't even have a filter developed. Instead, you get a coach, you take advantage of the filter that they have and their experience of working with various athletes, and like knowing which cue will work for this person, because say they're a leg or like a quad dominant squatter versus a back dominant squatter, or excuse me, or this athlete tends to get more psychologically aroused when they train, or this one's more calm. And like that is what individual differences can make. It can make the training go that much more smoothly. It can match the difficulty of training to what you're capable of tolerating, instead of just either training being way too easy or training being way too hard. Having the expertise of a coach can calibrate the difficulty of training to just below what you can tolerate, so you can progress as fast as possible.
So, I mean, takeaways from this is, you know, are they not mentally tough? Are they not this super strong lion that can execute everything?
Shark.
Or are they just not prepared? Yeah. And we're here to help them become more prepared for, you know, executing a program correctly.
And all you really need to do to build that mental toughness, to build the preparation, is to keep coming into the gym and showing up to training. Because some days are going to be great, some days are not going to be that great. But if we can accumulate more experience, more exposures to this thing that is stressful, and then develop strategies to adapt to training like this stressful thing, then we can become as sort of robust and comprehensive in our preparation as possible, so that when any sort of setback occurs, say you show up we're low on time, or we're low on calories, or we're in a different gym, or the training is really challenging that day, or whatever sort of adversity that we can think of. It's like, as we expose ourselves to more and more of those things, then it's like we'll have an answer when those things show up during training. It's like Mike Tyson says, like, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. If we can show up to training as often as possible and get punched in the mouth as often as possible, then we can have more plans in place for when shit hits the fan.
When you mix your max, you throw the bar down, you don't even re-rack it, you just bail out.
You just bail out, you get your gym bag and you storm out and you throw a little temper tantrum. Or you're just like, oh, I know exactly why I missed that one. Maybe it's like I didn't hydrate as well the night before. When normally I've had like 4 cups of water. This morning I didn't have anything because I was rushing out of the house. Then I got to the gym and I descended in my top set and I felt my quad cramp up and it was like, oh, I feel more dehydrated than I normally do. Is it because I'm a failure as a person and I'm a terrible human being?
No.
Or is it because, I just didn't hydrate as well? I didn't have my minerals and my electrolytes and that's why. And if I can prepare for that next time, make sure that, I'm going up for a top set, to make sure that I don't cramp up for that, I take the right procedure in hydrating and taking my electrolytes and minerals, then maybe I have a less likelihood of cramping up.
Just having things in place. That's what we're talking about here. Yep. All right.
Well, practice.
Wrapping it up, you want to tell them where to find you?
You can find me at Chalk It Up 6 days a week and on Instagram at JRAlekdan.
And you can find me, The Great White Rhino, or at Chalk It Up every single day anyways. We're both here all the time. We will catch you guys on the next episode. Enjoy your day. Have a good one. We're out.
See you next week.
Bum.